is the RCMP's unit. They're a specialized group of people that are trained to, look into explosives or a number of, incendiary devices. So they have that specialty training that they're able to provide. So like I said, there was a loud bang, and we're led to believe this was an explosion. And so given the facts, given what we had seen, evidence on scene, we had called our explosive disposal unit. There's a number of names for it. People call it what you described, but the RCMP it's their explosive disposal unit.
I know you can't get into detail, or you said you couldn't get into detail about what was recovered, but can you confirm that there was indeed an object recovered from outside Bowinn's office, something that would have caused that the mark and the damage on the door and the ground?
I don't want to get into that. I mean, as the investigation unfolds, we'll be able to get more details. In terms of what was recovered on scene, I don't have those details. That's something our investigator is looking at currently. They're on scene, they're holding the office for evidentiary purposes, and so I won't be able to get into those.
Do you know if there was significant events like that in Vancouver before, or outside of Vancouver, you were in the country?
I'm not aware of any incidents that is targeting an MLA's office. We don't know, or an office building with an explosion. So this is one of the first in recent time that I'm aware of.
Was either incident captured on camera, CCTV, or anything like that?
So our investigators are currently conducting a CCTV canvass as we speak currently. So that is something we're looking at actively as of right now, as it hasn't even been 12 hours since the incident occurred.
Can you explain how police approach like a potentially politically motivated incident like this?
So I don't know if it's politically motivated. We're not calling it that, but we're investigating all possible avenues at this point. One of the benefits of the RCMP is that we have so many specialized units at our disposal that we can reach out and help us investigate this. Something like this, it's a serious incident, and we want to make sure that we investigate thoroughly and find the people that are behind this, that are responsible. So we have a number of resources at our disposal that are actively engaged in assisting our serious crime unit.
And are you following up with Bowinn at all to give her any advice about security or anything like that?
Absolutely. So our team is engaged. So also is with the E-Division Protective Services is engaged. And, in terms of what that discussion is, I won't be able to get into detail, but our investigators are in touch with Beaumont's office.
Why not close down the whole building? Like, there were workers in the floors above kind of looking out the window as police were doing their work, and the e-bike store appeared to be closed, but the Pilates studio, Ministry of Children and Family Development was still going on, and workers were only told by management that the media had been reporting something, but they weren't told by police that there had been an explosion. Why not be perhaps more, not to be alarmist, but would you come to work in this building if there was an explosion here this morning?
So let me just clarify. So that is going into detail about what actually happened and what our investigators were doing. So as the incident was reported, our units, frontline officers attended along with the explosive disposal unit and police dog services. There was a search done, and the office and the building was deemed safe. At no point was there ever indication that there's further risk to the public. And had there been any indication, most certainly we would have notified everybody in that building. But at that point, there was no indication that nobody further was in danger and that this was an isolated incident.
What time was that search conducted and concluded?
I don't have the times, but our police service dog and our explosive disposal unit were called out, and the police service dogs, they work 24/7, so they were there quite quickly.
Any idea of how many people might be involved at this point that may be responsible in terms of suspects, one person, two people?
So as the investigation unfolds, that is something we're going to be looking at. At this point, it's too early in the investigation to determine who's behind it and how many people or any motive.
So you have no suspects, you have no persons of interest, you have no idea the number of people or?
I didn't say that. So like I said, as the investigation unfolds, we're going to be looking at everything, all evidence, and again, as the investigation unfolds, we'll be able to provide that information. But at this point, I'm not prepared to share any information on how the active investigation is ongoing. All right, if there are no further questions, we'll conclude that. Thank you all.
And we just heard there from North Vancouver RCMP on BC MLA Bowinn Ma's constituency office being targeted with an explosive device. We're just going to recap what we heard, or the police saying, an explosion was heard, not necessarily calling it an explosive device there. But North Vancouver police say overall this investigation is still very much in its early stages. Police didn't say exactly what kind of explosive device this was, still a lot of questions in the air. We are told there were two separate explosion incidents, one at 2:30 and one at 4:15 a.m., but it's not clear if these are connected. So still lots to follow up with there. And for more on this, we're going to check in with our reporter, Katie DeRosa, who has been following this story from Victoria, and she joins us now. Katie, what can you tell us about, the key takeaways from what we just heard from RCMP?
Well, the RCMP were asked several times, do you know if this is politically motivated, any suspects? They said they don't know the motivation. They're looking for CCTV, any kind of video evidence of these incidents, which sounds like there was two separate explosions. The RCMP are not saying what kind of device was used, but they said that they're doing all they can to sort of canvass and get information. Now, Premier David Eby is holding a separate press conference in Vancouver related to FIFA. We expect him to take questions about this incident at Bowinn Ma's constituency office. He hasn't taken questions yet, but that's going to be a big question: is are NDP MLAs are their offices safe? Should staff be concerned? We know that NDP, though many NDP MLAs, their constituency staff have closed those offices just as a precaution. And MLAs I talked to today say they're very concerned about this incident, and they have seen sort of a ratcheting up of tension in recent years of incidents that kind of start online and then spill out to their constituency offices. So it's definitely created a climate of fear right now.
Mm-hmm. Are there any key questions that still remain unclear about what happened today?
Well, again, I think it's really the why. Is this related to any recent policies the government has put out? Is it targeted at the NDP, or is it? Those are all questions that we'll have. I did notice even at the legislature, the security is really doing the rounds. They're very visible, so it's very obvious even at the legislature here that there is a heightened degree of security. And of course, at those offices, they are closed. But we're hoping that the RCMP will release information as it comes forward. As for Bowinn Ma, our colleague did see her in a cafe close to the constituency office. She was with her child and her husband. Her husband says she doesn't want to comment. It's just too raw right now. But she said in a statement she's thanking everyone for her support and said, this incident is concerning. So we'll have to wait until we learn more. But certainly it's I think it's shaken a lot of people.
Yeah, and Katie, you've been following this since the morning today. I just want to kind of go over what have you learned throughout the day?
Well, we know that the Sergeant-at-Arms office sent out an email at 7:30 to MLAs and constituency offices to let them know, and they described it as an explosive device that detonated. Those were the exact words used, so they did not mince words about the device, that there was an explosion. Again, they also said they didn't name Bowinn Ma's office. They just said a constituency office, but we subsequently learned it was Bowinn Ma's office. So, they sent that out quite early so that these constituency staff and their MLAs could make a decision on whether or not to open. And again, we're just really learning about, how the Sergeant-at-Arms is going to deal with this. I think there will be maybe there'll be policy changes or heightened security around some of those offices. Those will be some of the questions that we're asking going forward.
Yeah, definitely lots to follow up and reflect on there. Katie, thank you so much for your time. And so again, CBC News has confirmed that this constituency office was targeted, and no details yet of really who, why, as Katie mentioned, and what was this device. But CBC News also spoke to people in that area in North Vancouver this morning about what they know and witnessed. Take a listen to what they had to say.
Approximately 2:30, it sounded like a really loud bang, but it didn't sound like the trains. It sounded something more. It wasn't a car crash. It was like a big, it shook the house. So, and I only live a block away, so it was crazy.
Definitely not something normal. It was really loud and it kind of just shook us. We were in the middle of a sleep and we instantly got up kind of thing. It's a bit worrying. I'm new to the neighborhood, but yeah, I've only been here for a couple months, but not a great start.
And thanks again for joining us for this live special coverage regarding Bowinn office and what unfolded there this morning and the investigations that continue. You can find up-to-date information on our website, cbc.ca/BC. Thanks again for joining us and take care.